Ok. Espero que todos estejam me ouvindo. Online também. Well, first of all, I would like to thank your so kind presence here with us. Thank you very much. Again. Eu gostaria de fazer uma breve apresentação do professor David Ben-Schlomo. O professor Shlomo é graduado em arqueologia pela Universidade Hebraica de Jerusalém, em 1996. Ele defendeu o mestrado em arqueologia em 1999 pela Hebrew University de Jerusalém e também defendeu seu doutorado em arqueologia em 2005, também pela Universidade Hebraica de Jerusalém. O título de sua tese é Pottery Production Centers in Iron Age, Philistia, an Archaeological and Archaeometric Study. Tem um pós-doutorado de 2006-2007 em Heidelberg University, outro pós-doutorado 2007-2008 em Weizmann Institute, e outro pós-doutorado 2009-2011 no Smithsonian Institution. De 2009 a 2013, ele foi um professor visitante no Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History, 2014-2015, co-diretor do Tel Hebron Archaeological Excavations, 2014-2015, Research Fellow, Ariel University, 2015-2016, Senior Lecturer, Ariel University, 2016-2020, Associate Professor, Ariel University, e 2020 em diante, professor lá na Universidade Ariel, em Israel, no Departamento de Arqueologia. De 2016 a 2022, editor da Judea and Samaria Research Studies, 2017, diretor do Tel Hebron Archaeological Excavations, 2017-2018, co-diretor do Khirbet Aujah, correct? Archaeological Excavations, 2017-2019, co-diretor do The Barkan Wine Presses Community Archaeological Project and Excavations, 2018-2020, co-diretor do Corazim, 2018-2019, co-diretor do Clodia Community Archaeological Project and Excavations, e bastante, né, atividade do professor. Vou sumarizar aqui. Em 2019 e 2023, Israel Science Foundation Grant the Development of the Production of Cooking Pots in Iron Age, Judá. Suas publicações vão de livros, dentre autoria e organização, são 10, artigos em revistas, não é, de alto... Tem um nome, como diz? Alto impacto, 88, e capítulos em livros e publicações, 84. Então, eu agradeço mais uma vez, thank you again for your presence here, brindando-nos com a sua fala, muito obrigado. Então, agora eu vou passar a palavra para o professor, lembrando que quem está online pode fazer as perguntas por escrito ao final da apresentação do professor. O mesmo conosco, tá bem? Agora.
Okay. Thank you, Wagner. Okay. Okay, thank you, Wagner, and thank you also, Maria, for inviting me here to talk, and I'm very glad to be here in Sao Paulo, and I hope it will interest you, my talk about this small site. Maybe not the most important, but this is a site I'm excavating, and for an archaeologist, the most important site in the world is the site that he's excavating usually. It's a general rule. So I hope it will be some interest. And this topic of the excavation at Khirbet Aujah el-Foqa in Israel, the Jordan Valley. So I will start, and I will talk about this, this new excavation at this site in Israel, located in the Jordan Valley, far away from here. And as I think you know, because I think most of you know this region, the Jordan Valley is rather arid area, today at least. But on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's a very important land route between the continents, between Africa and Asia and Europe, back to prehistoric times. So I think it has a special importance from this side. And on the other hand, it's also a border area. In ancient times, in Bronze and Iron Age, and also today. So it's an interesting area from that point of view, even though it is not, it's rather arid, doesn't have many big sites, many, it's not an economic and agricultural center, but it has importance maybe from other aspects. So, so this is the region, and the site is located in the southern part of the Jordan Valley. You can see here, it is a location near a very big spring. You can see the area, very arid, barren area of Aujah. So that's the name of the site, is after the spring of Aujah. And it's very close to Jericho, which is a famous site from prehistoric times until the modern times, 8 kilometers about north of Jericho. And you can see this location on the map, and here in this region. And this is the photograph of the site located on the hill. Generally, this area is not so well known. It's well known more from surveys, but not so much from excavations, especially for the Iron Age periods. And this is the period which I am focused on in most of my research. So this is, I think, also important and can bring new data on this period for excavated sites. So this site, the region of the site, as I said, it's located near an important spring, a large spring named Aujah, and the site is called the Aujah el-Foqa, which means the upper Aujah. There are several sites, actually archaeological sites in this region from various periods. Some are earlier, some are later. So this is like one of several sites, but I'm only dealing with this site, which is located on top of a hill, on a hilltop, and it's rather controlling the spring. I mean, this is really control. It's not on the spring, but it's controlling the spring from above. This is the spring. You can see, if you know this region, very dry region, but there's water here is flowing all year. You can see this in August, even September. They have channels. If you know, if you've been there, sometimes they do some slide, you know, water slides. Then back, I think 90s or 80s, but now it's a bit dangerous. So you have a lot of water here, even in the summer. And this is a central, it's important spring. Even today, they are drawing water from here to Ramallah and Jericho and all the region. But as this is a very arid area, the importance of water is very high. I mean, it's a very strategic point because of the water, at least. And the site itself, this hilltop site, was identified already in the 19th century by the PEF survey, but they actually didn't recognize it as the ancient site. They thought it was like a khirbet, like a modern deserted village, because as you will see soon, there are structures there that really stand very high. It looks like a deserted village from first sight. Later on, there is the survey, the very big survey of this region of the Manasseh Hill, which is basically the southern Samaria region, and also the Jordan Valley, some part of the Jordan Valley, by Adam Zartal, who did like very large, it's still ongoing survey, mapping the whole region with all these sites. So we have a lot of information, as I said, from surveys on this region. He really walked every mile and really mapped everything more than usual surveys. And we have this series of books, publication of these surveys. So we have huge data of these sites, and very few of them were excavated. So that's why we have this great data of less excavations and more surveys. And he surveyed the site 20 years ago, and he recognized this as an Iron Age site and not only a modern village, dating to the Iron Age 2, 1000 to 586 BCE. And he recognized also the general architecture as of being a fortified site. But he didn't excavate it, he only mapped it, and he wrote an article on it, but it was never excavated. So as part of our project, me and also I have a partner from US, Ralph Hawkins, that we want to follow some of these sites that were surveyed and excavate them. I mean, not so many, but a few, some from the earlier Iron Age, some from the later Iron Age. So this was selected, and we started to excavate it there in 2019 as part of a longer-term excavation project of the site, as part of a more larger project of studying this region from the Iron Age according to both survey and excavation data. So this is the excavation, and we have this nice logo, and this is started 3 years ago. So the site, as I said, is located on a hilltop. It's a hill, and the site is only on the top. It's a rather not a big site. The hill itself is very, it has very steep slopes from 3 directions because of this, most of the directions they have these chert formations, and only the southern slope, the northern slope is not so steep, and you can go by it. Also, you cannot go by car, you can go by jeep or something up there. So it's really like it's not easy to climb this hill, not so easy. And as this north slope faces the spring, you see this is the valley, the wadi, and the spring here. And this is the general topography of the site. As I said, it was surveyed 20 years ago and mapped. This is a map of the survey. He walked and mapped the whole structures that was seen. You can see from the aerial photo, you see a lot of structures, and you can see soon they are really preserved very high. And he mapped everything and also recognized that there's a fortification around the perimeter of the site of a casemate wall, like a wall made of cells. And the whole site is about 1.5 hectare, rather small site, limited to this hilltop area. And according to the pottery, this is Iron Age 2. He dated it to the 8th century BCE. And also this type of walls, this casemate walls, also typical of the Iron Age 2. So it fitted well this period, and this is even a reconstruction of the site according to the survey. So there was some data, but this is not based on excavation. And as you can see, when you walk in the site, you can see these structures that are standing sometimes really high, like 2 or 2.5 meters high. They are always rounded, and most of the structures you can see. But there are other structures, bigger structures, like a tower and these the surrounding wall and other structures. And apparently, all these structures that are standing, they are, I mean, they are very visible, but actually they are really small, rounded huts made of really collected stone. And they are probably late. This is a late phase. It's actually not recognized in the survey that actually all the structures standing up are late structures, probably from the Mamluk or Ottoman period. So there are 2 phases, actually, clear phases, visible phases, and you can see them both, but you have to really recognize that there is an upper phase of these rounded huts, small huts. They're all small, rounded units with 1 room, 1 entrance, very simple, and all of them were built probably by robbing the old Iron Age walls. So You can see there's an upper layer of these rounded huts, sometimes really standing high, but below them you can see, and sometimes even they were using the old walls, straight walls, really much thicker, of larger structures, well constructed, totally different. So once you look more carefully, you can see there are two phases here. You can see the late is the white here and the yellow underneath. I don't know if you can see so well in this picture, but generally, maybe you can make it darker. So, yeah, but when you look at the very visible, well, on the ground in an air photograph, how these straight lines go below this rounded huts. So it's, if you look, you get used to it, you really find out the actual lower Iron Age remains. But here, this is the upper structure, the upper phase of these huts, and the rounded structures are all of like 4 to 6 meters wide, and it's difficult to date them. They were used also in modern times, maybe for Bedouins coming for a few days, or some people use them maybe several times, but we dug one of them, and there is some Mamluk Ottoman pottery on the floor, so it needs more research, but probably this is the date. It's also a question how come they built this place at that period, but this is the date of the upper phase, which I'm not really studying to depth right now. And the main phase of the Iron Age, this is these structures. So some of them are excavated, and some of them are really can be seen just from aerial photo, because it's very well preserved. Many sites in this area are really well preserved because there's not much rain, and people really, the walls can stand, you know, they don't move. So you can see this wall, the casemate wall in this area, it's really visible. In other areas, you can see the rounded structures. Maybe they followed it, but it's not really visible in other parts. And but really, some of the structures you can define even without excavation. You could do the whole really plan, or not whole, but many parts of the plan without excavation, because the top of the walls are really can be seen. As you can see from this plan, the structures are not abutting usually the wall. The wall is like freestanding, and the structures are usually not connected to the wall, which is, I think, an important feature, which I'll talk later about why is it an important feature. And as we can see in the excavation, this is not known by the excavation, that there is a clear destruction layer of this phase, probably somewhere in the 8th century, and you will see all the vessels and also ashes and something like that. And but there's probably an earlier phase. So the site was destroyed somewhere in the 8th century BC, but the question is when was it founded? It is not yet clear, maybe somewhat earlier, and this is a big question which we still have to answer. So the excavation started in 2019, and we started actually in Area A, which is the southern part here, because there was a lot of visible, it's easy here to follow the visible line of the structure. You don't even have to do a grid in a way, because you have the structures sometimes really visible before, so it's no point of having these squares. So this is here they were visible a few parts of the casemate wall, and we wanted to start here to maybe date the wall, to get some remains from the wall. So we excavated here for one season, and there was a clear destruction layer here. You can see all the smashed vessels, smashed pottery, reconstructible pottery on the floor, and remains even of ashes, of burning, so it is clear some destruction layer here. You can see here the area excavated with the casemates, these cells within the wall. The wall is made of 2 lines and of rooms, actually, which you can block them and make the wall thicker, or you can leave them open and use them as rooms. Sometimes they are part of structures, sometimes they are just rooms for other functions. So this is the plan. You can see here we activated 4 of these casemates. Here there is it's eroded actually in this part, so it's not preserved, but here it's better preserved in the higher places. And there is this line of casemate wall, very clear, and you can see even the entrances, and there is all kinds of units, not abutting them, but inside, like freestanding, some open areas, and other structures are further inside. So if you have kind of a place, an open area between the wall and the structure, the next row of structures, probably. That's what we excavated, but so far in this area. And you can see the casemate here, it's very well built. And you can see the entrances are always located in the corner. It's really nicely planned. They are very similarly sized, and the entrances are in the same direction, usually maybe flipping here to the second direction, and always really well organized, and like you can see, like it was planned, well planned by architect or something, this wall. And here you can see the inside, in the doorways and inside the casement, there are vessels on the floor. So they were using them for some function as rooms or something like that. And when the site was destructed, all the vessels remained not intact, but mostly some of them complete. You can see here the entrance to one of the casemates, and this very dark ashy layer of the destruction, and some arrowheads and some balls, stone balls, maybe also used as weapons, found together with these pottery vessels. Basically, that was the main finds, but we made some reconstruction of pottery. In one place, there was a very strange thing. There's like a stepped entrance. You can see in the plan maybe. Here, like there is an entrance here from the inside, which is here from the outside actually, which is like a small entrance, stepped, and there was a vessel there. So it's a very strange. It's not like a gate, but a really small opening in the wall. And that was the wall. And adjacent to the wall, there were no structures abutting, but an open area. This area was open, and the next structures are really far away. This is like a late rounded structure from the Ottoman period, which is overlying this remains. And here you have all kinds of things like installations and pits, and no really structures. And installations like one silo, like a stone-lined silo. This is typical of the Iron Age too, especially in the hill countries of Israel, of the Levant and other areas. And there are taboons, seemingly in an open area, and some pits. So this is an open area, or maybe the walls were not preserved. I don't know, but seemingly this is an open area and not. There are no houses here. And further inside, there was a beginning of a structure, really a massive structure. The walls are 2 meters wide, very big stones, but it was robbed almost entirely by this later structure picking up the stones. You can see lying on top of it. So we have only really the lower line of stones, and some of them are missing. So, but it seems like a big structure, some kind of a fort or something like this, because these walls are really thick. So we don't know, but there was something really big structure there. But we have to, if you have to expand it, we have to dismantle all these later structures, which is a lot of work. And this is the pottery reconstructed from this area. Not all the vessels are complete, because I think some of it was eroded in it. I mean, the destruction level is really on surface. I mean, you just brush the dirt off and it's there, and it's even gone. I think half of it is gone already because of the erosion. So you sometimes get only part of the vessels. I think that's why you get not many complete jars, but they are reconstructible. Some of them are reconstructible. And generally you get mostly storage vessels and cooking vessels. Not so many tableware, like bowls and craters and things like that. So we have cooking pots and storage jars mainly, some jugs. So it's interesting that everywhere we see that this is the type of vessel you get. And you can have a dating according to the vessels. We are talking about both the 8th and 9th century BC. It's like late Iron Age 2A and Iron Age 2B. It's not so late as described in the survey. It's a bit earlier. So also probably the destruction was in the 8th century, but the site was, at least we know there is a 9th century layer and types. So it's a bit earlier. And if we compare the parallels of the vessels in the Levant and Israel in this period, you can see differences between the north and the south. Maybe it's political because there's the kingdom of Judah in the south and the kingdom of Israel in the north. And some types you see only in the south, some are only in the north. And the types here are definitely northern types, even though it's the south, but the types are northern types. Not like in Jerusalem or Hebron or these areas. You don't have these types, I don't know, all kinds of hallmarks. You don't find them here at all. You find the types, hippo jars and cooking pots and the type we find in the north, like Tel Rehov, Megiddo, Tel Dor, maybe like that. Even a few imports. So you have this type of Israelite, more Israelite pottery, at least from what we found so far. Here there's some more vessels, not so many decorated, not so much a red slip, which is more in the south, in the spirit, I think, than in the north. And you have, very rarely, you have these common Judean types, like these burnished bowls, whole mouths, closed cooking pots. Hardly any of these so far, especially in the excavation. Maybe in the survey you might collect a few, but once you excavate really the layers, you don't find them. But there are rarely some decorated also vessels. Even there was even a black and red piece imported. But generally, most pottery looks the same, simple, and also small finds. And special finds are so far very rare. We have just some stone vessels or stone groundstone, and there is some metals, mostly weapons like arrowheads, spearheads, iron tools, not a lot, but mainly iron, from iron. Some you have here this loom weight or some stop or something like that, but really not so many small finds or nice finds so far. So this is area A where we started, and then we continued from 2020 in area B, which is in the north side, and now we are continuing there to expand because I think this is like a more important area. As I said, the north side is the more gradual slope where you can access the site. So this is probably where the way into the site can, and even today, when we made the way, it goes here, and you cannot see really the ancient way, but this is natural. There's a natural place where the way into the site can go. So this is important because this is the place, like for example, where we could find the gate. And always it's important to find the entrance of the gate because this is kind of defines a lot of the structure of the art and the concept of the site. So we opened this area. Also here, there are not so many late remains. So this makes excavation also easier. You don't have to dismantle all these huts so much. So it makes excavating the Iron Age more easy. So that's when we started. We have 3 seasons there. And here is in the beginning. You can see actually one structure almost complete even before excavation. So we started to excavate this. So you can see the top of the walls in many places. You can see here are some late structures, but all over the place there are not so many late structures. So it's easier to really both to see, to identify the line of the walls. it's not like a tell site where you have to excavate and then find more strata. You can really identify many structures without GPR, without excavating. So this makes it in a way easy. So you can plan the excavation by that and then kind of complement what you see with what you excavate. And so this is the beginning after the first season, and we first excavated this structure and then we expanded it further. So mainly so far we excavated this complete building. You can see this here. And in some areas to the north and to the south, so an open area to the north. The wall goes through here. The casemate wall goes really close, but it's not. Again, it's not connected to the house. There's an open area in between, and some parts of buildings to the south not complete yet. So here again, we have the same destruction layer, same vessel types of vessels of somewhere in the 8th century. So we have like a same stratum. There are some phases here, but it's the same layer like in the other area where we excavated before. And it seems like though the structures are combined to a larger complexes. It's like not, most of them are not really domestic houses, but some of them seem to be combined to larger complexes. I don't know if you can see here, so this big wall, and even this structure seem to be combined with another set of units here. It's not clear yet, but it seems like there are bigger complexes here. And also we were looking for the entrance from the gate area also. And so this is the house, the complete house. It's like a typical domestic house, maybe of the 4-room type. You can see the plan here. There is one elongated room, and then there are 2 here and another 3 here. Maybe it had another upper story in some, that's how they were constructed. It's not exactly like the 4-room houses, but very similar. And the entrance is from here. And this is like the photo, this is the plan. And here there is like an open area, maybe a courtyard or open area maybe related to the wall area or somewhere. We thought maybe to the entrance area to of the town. And you can see there is the destruction layer, a lot of vessels on the floor. In most of the rooms you can really find them, and the floor is usually on the rock, or maybe they put some leveling of the rock with some dirt. Very basic floor, but it's going according to the rock. There's no overlaying here. It's one layer, and you can find the reconstructible vessel, even sometimes complete intact vessels. Here's an iron pick, all kinds of stuff, and really a lot of finds. You can see here the pottery on the floor, this room C. There are several taboons, which these cooking or mostly probably baking installations. Some are really nicely preserved. Here we cut it just to see how it was built, but generally some of them are really nicely preserved. And then one of the rooms had a line of mud loom weight, so it was a small unit. Maybe there was a loom there. So all kinds of several rooms. There are 6 rooms here, and maybe there are different functions: cooking, baking. According to the finds, here's some finds. Here's some intact vessels, complete. These are iron tools. These rounded stones, which you find everywhere. Maybe they are slingshots. Some say they are weights. I think they were maybe at least secondary used as slingshot, because you find so many of them and they are in the same sizes. So it's like another type of weapon, maybe related to some battle there of the destruction. This is one room, room A. Room A is this room. Yeah, room A and room C had mostly all the vessels, and room A, this is just reconstructed for one room. And again, you can this is not real. This is but it's just jars and cooking pots and some jugs from this room. Really nice collection, and again, most of them really are types of You can see both of them are storage jars and cooking vessels, not so many bowls and craters, and also they are from northern types. Here, this is the other room. We'll see several cooking pots, storage vessels, and so on. This is the vessels. So this is this building, and we can see when you continue to the south, we excavated few units, and we didn't complete that, but still you can see this the same destruction level, the complete vessels. Some places we didn't even go to the floors. Just in the beginning, we start to see that. Taboons, all this, there's more units, but we have to continue. And you really have to decide how many of these rooms you excavate, because you have a limited time to analyze the material and to reconstruct it. So we have to really decide, okay, this room is there. I know there are vessels there, but maybe better not to excavate it, to have just more of the same. So we have to make the decisions here like that, because we know it's there, because you can really see, but we have to select what to do. And some small finds, maybe more special finds, metals, some clay items. Here I will tell there is quite a few iron tools, like this complete, almost complete. We have to really reconstruct it. Iron pick, it's not so common. Really relatively well preserved. Some bronze and mostly iron weapons, like mud stoppers, and these balls of stones, which I said are probably used also as weapons, made of usually flint or chert. You can see these balls, and another type, I think also of slingshot, which is rather rare find. You see this oblong thing. It's a really small thing made of burnt clay, and it's a slingshot. We know the shape, and usually they are made of lead in the late Iron Age and Hellenistic and Roman period, and in prehistoric period they were made of stone, but of clay it's rather rare, especially in this. We have in Cyprus, and again I found parallels from clay in the Bronze Age, but not from the Levant. It's interesting, so it is like a strange find. Another nice find, which is basically so far the only figurative item we found so far in the site, is this crater with the snakes. The application of snake, probably 2 snakes at least. It's a very big crater, and we constructed from several pieces, not complete, but we have the top part, and you have some snake here, or maybe another snake here, and it was found in the area south of the building. Maybe it was a room or part of a unit, not clear so far, but we have this vessel. And actually, snake depictions is rather rare in Iron Age, especially on vessels. The only parallel I found for like a vessel with snakes is this from the spirit, more or less, is this jar from Pythoi, from Dan, which is the Tel Dan to the north, and it has it is like a sanctuary, and they were found 2 Pythoi with snakes on them. But like it's a different type of vessel, but also has snakes. Usually we find them in the Middle Bronze and Late Bronze. We have several instances of snake depictions on pottery vessels, mostly though on cultic stands. We have the famous ones from Bechean, from the Late Bronze, also early Iron Age. You see all these snakes. So it's interesting that the only figurative item has this very rare depiction of snakes, so it's interesting. So this is this vessel, and last season, last February, this February we excavated. We continued to excavate and really wanted to find this gate area. And you see this to the north of the structure. There's this open area, and it seems like a square or rectangular wall limiting this area. It seems like a very big, maybe tower or something big, and it's on the line of the wall. So we said, okay, that would fit an entrance, a tower gate, or something like that. So we excavated nearby. They said, okay, maybe there is a gate area here, but so far there's actually small units and walls, and it doesn't fit the gate area at all. So still it's an open question, where was the gate? It makes sense it was somewhere there, but we still have to find it and excavate also this area. And here we did like this area of this. We have to still excavate this area, but the units abutting it don't look like a part of the gate. They are small units, maybe part of the casemate wall still, or maybe some other units attached to them. And we also did the section here and so on. So this is we have to continue this soon. Here, this is what we thought that would be like here is the wall, the casemate wall, and here is this rectangular delimited area. Maybe this is like some part of the gate, but it's still an open question. And also we opened another area in the last season, area C, which is basically on the slopes. It's not on the north slope, and you can visibly see like a tower there, a square structure. And it's on the line, there's like a wall going here, seemingly. And initially we thought like, okay, this is tower, maybe if the way goes up into the site, maybe this tower guarded the way into the site, and it's part, maybe there was a wall connected to here. So we wanted to check that, seeing it as part of the fortification of the Iron Age. And that was the assumption when excavating this area here. But here we had a surprise. And basically, according to, just in the first couple of days, you see all the pottery was not Iron Age. It was Middle Bronze Age 2 BC, 1,000 years earlier, so it was a nice surprise. You have another total different period. So we can see also when you look carefully that the structure is really built different. I mean, the stones are bigger, the walls are straighter, so it is built differently, and hardly there was even not a reuse of this tower or this fortification element in the Iron Age. So far, I mean, there was no level or not even hardly any pottery from the Iron Age. It's really surprising. Even often, okay, this is the earlier feature, they would use it. It's standing there, I know now. So why didn't they use it in the Iron Age, or seemingly at least from what we found? So it was really strange that this is a clean Middle Bronze Age tower, and it's standing there, not connected. It has this area, seemed to have like an open area in front of it, like the entrance is here. Maybe there was another entrance here, and there's an open area, and otherwise it's not connecting to anything. It's really strange, but it brings another light to the site. You know, suddenly it's already it's a Bronze Age site too, so it's a nice could be a nice surprise, even though you're looking for the Iron Age. And so this was this, and really rather surprising, because everywhere else we didn't find even there was no Middle Bronze Age level, but not even Middle Bronze Age pottery. There are some earlier pottery, but hardly any Middle Bronze. Also from the survey, it's not documented. So you can see how many surprises when you excavate a surveyed site. There are a lot of surprises, and so this was the surprise, and we have to continue investigating here. There seem to be like two layers here, because the upper phase there was a big oven blocking the entrance, seemingly like a second, but also Middle Bronze Age. So they had two phases in the Middle Bronze. Once they built it and used it, maybe later on, maybe they didn't use it or as a tower. And also the question, what happens? How come there's this isolated tower? Where is the town? Was there a Middle Bronze Age on top or not? Maybe it's connected to a site below, because there are sites below. So it's really a new question. So you can see the very clear Middle Bronze Age pottery here. Okay, so back to the Iron Age 2 or biblical times. So how can we see this site in the context of, let's say, historical context of biblical times or of the period? And as we know from the text, and also from all kinds of, I mean, we assume that this area was the border between the Israelite kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah, at least in some part of the Iron Age. And this is like a map, a traditional map of these units, ethnic units, political units in the Iron Age 2 of the kingdom of Judah, kingdom of Israel. There is Aram, the big kingdom, Ammon, and Moab, and Edom, and the Philistines and Phoenicians. So usually it seems like Jericho was on the border, and this area around Jericho was on the border between the Kingdom of Israel, which makes sense because, as we said, the pottery points to a northern location. And so maybe it was a fortified site on the border, because it's a border both between the south and the north, but also with the east. Yeah. So and also we have this strategic point because it controls the water of this very arid area and nomadic population and so on. So it has this. We have to look at it. It's clearly military site. I mean, it's not, if you want to have agriculture, you can have agriculture there, but not on the top. You have to go down, be near the water. Why be on top? This is like a strategic point, controlling point. Okay, you have to see there's a controlling point, both in looking at in the border of, let's say, north and south, east and west, and both controlling, also controlling the water, this area. It's the important spot of the whole area because of the water. And also, when you excavate the site from this period, always people like to find the identification of the site in the Bible or in the ancient text. And Zertal already in the beginning, he identified this as Atarot. There is a verse in Joshua 16 describing the borders between the different tribes. And in the tribes of Ephraim and Menashe, there is a line which goes through Yanoach to Atarot and to Na'arta or Na'arta and to Jericho. That's a line, and he said, okay, this is Atarot, because also Atarot is like a crown, so it's crowning the hill. But actually, it makes sense that it is more the next town, the Na'arta, because it's just near Jericho. It's the last town before Jericho, and Atarot maybe is the town just to the west. And there's another papyrus discovered mentioning wine casks from Na'arta to Jerusalem, so it's mentioned also in this text. So it was a regional, maybe important center or something like that, administrative center, military center, and so on. And so how can we see it in this political framework? It is surrounded with this casemate wall, and we know this casemate wall made of rooms. It's not a double-lined wall. We know it very well from the Iron Age too, and most commonly from the Kingdom of Judah, actually, but it appears also in the north. And you can see the famous site you probably know of Khirbet Aujah, maybe the earliest maybe Iron Age depiction of this type of fortification. And actually it's very similar when you look at the plan of this wall. It's very similar to Kayafa, like the cells have this entrance in the corner and they flip direction in some point and have the entrance in the other corner, so it's very similar. So, but it is like 200 years later. And this is very common for the Kingdom of Judah, and maybe it's even related, having this wall, and not only the wall, having the wall with the houses combined within the wall. And this is important because it seems like they build the wall first. It's not like the typical case of a town which you decide to build a wall around it. It's the other way around. You build a wall, and then you build a town inside it. So this is, but it's not always the case. This is the case when you have the structures combined within the wall. It proves that first they build the wall and then the town inside it. So this is very typical for Judah. You have this Kayafa and Nasbe, Khirbet Mirsim, Beersheba is very nice, the nicest example of the late Iron Age. And you can see this radial plan. They have the wall casemate, and then they have the inner circle, another inner circle. It's not orthogonal, it's radial, because the wall is built first. And you just delimit an area, and the question is, maybe it's because you can follow this from two directions. Maybe it's a military thing. Okay, it's a fortress. First, I want to build a wall to protect, to control, and then, okay, I fill it up. It depends if it gets like an administrative center as well. But you can also say it relates maybe to nomadic populations settling, because we know that there are several nomadic settlements, especially in the Negev area, in the arid areas, where they build this. First, they thought these fortresses, but probably most of them are not fortresses. These compounds, and we know these compounds of the rooms surrounding an open area, and the open area is mainly for the herds actually, and not as a protective thing, but like replacing of the tents, you know. So maybe it comes from that, and this area is a desert area, the nomadic population. So the question is maybe it's related to that. But since in Aujah we don't have the houses combined with the wall, it's a different situation. I think it's not. It seems like maybe they build it together, you know, with the structures, but it's not the same concept. So it's not the same Judean concept of the wall, but it's similar, still similar. So so far it seems like it's the Israelite fortified town, maybe also administrative center of the region. So it's also important because of the border, the control of the water, the spring. Maybe they were able to control when you have a strong centralized government. Then you come to these areas and you want to control also it doesn't have agriculture, a lot of agriculture, not so much population, mostly nomadic population, but still you want to control them as well. So you build this fort in the water location, near the spring. So you both control the local population, and also you defend maybe the border of the political units. There's the question, what is a border also? I think it's a very interesting question in antiquity. What is a border? What type of border was there? I think it's an interesting point which we have to think about in relation to this type. This is also a border, climatic zone border, because not far away there is this Mediterranean climate, and here it's this arid climate. So it's an environmental border as well. And the population is different. This is pastoral population, and just nearby it's more agricultural population. So it's a border for many types of ways. So it's interesting. As I said, it may be a part of the chain. If you're looking at it as a fortified site on the border, maybe it's a part of several sites located on in this route. And there is 10 kilometers to the west, there's another site excavated some time ago, Khirbet Aujah, also located on top of a spring, an important spring. I don't know if you've heard of it. It was excavated by Ami Mazar. And it's on the same Wadi el-Aujah, and just 10 kilometers, and like the next spring up, and there is a fortified site, also from the Iron Age. There are also Bronze Age remains there too. So this is probably, maybe this was Atarot, the town mentioned before, Naata. So it's like 3 towns, Jericho, Atarot, Naata, and Atarot. So it's maybe part of a system of sites during the Iron Age. This is the Marjamer site. There's a tower and a wall, and a similar date, you know, 9th, 8th century, similar date also. And the pottery also seems like Israelite more to the north. So it's a similar thing. So this is the site of what maybe in the context so far of the historical political framework. So we are somewhere in the middle, or maybe more than the middle of the project. What are our future plans? We want to conclude this. I mean, it will not go forever. We have to really continue excavating and studying this really well preserved. I think the importance, or it's a small site. It's not a very important site maybe, but it's very well preserved. It's in a location not very well known from excavations, and it's a border area. So I think it's interesting from these points of view. And we'll ask several of questions still to open, archaeological questions, like when was the site built? Does it have an earlier Iron Age? Maybe Iron Age 1 even, of non-fortified site. Maybe does it have this level? Then if it has, it changes our concept. You know, it's not like the government builds these houses. Maybe it's like development of an earlier site. And the destruction, who is behind the destruction, so on. Ammonites, Assyrians, I don't know the question, or maybe related to the border between Israel and Judah. And the beginning of the site, and also we have to maybe study more the Middle Bronze, maybe find some remains of the Middle Bronze, and more on top if there is, or maybe explain how come we have this Middle Bronze Age isolated tower, and also the late phase, also try to explain it, at least how come it's there, because it's also strange. Why did it also seems like a military outpost in the Ottoman period, but very poorly built. So how come we have to find some background for that? Or maybe this was, I don't know, a camp, like a refugee camp. I don't know. It's not a regular site. So we have to answer these questions. Okay, so the next time we excavate, very soon, February 12 to 24, you are invited. If you are in the region, come over. Every volunteer is welcome, and really you are all invited. And I want to thank everybody helping out, all the volunteers, everyone helping out, and we are supported also by the Health Foundation. And I want to thank everybody for helping us out in the present, past, and future. And thank you. 50 minutes.
Thank you very much, David. Now, can we open for questions and comments? I think
from the online, they cannot. It's not like they can have, or they cannot talk to us. There are some comments, yeah. YouTube are here. You can submit them. Okay. So maybe, but here, okay. Oh, maybe, yeah, we'll move it around. Yeah.
So people
Sure.
channel here. Ok. Segura só. Não, só botar. Okay, no, we have here. No, they're bridges. Have anyone ever make a kind of typological study about the snakes on the vessels that you showed? Yes.
There are not so many. I saw that a year ago someone had made a PhD on, wrote a PhD on snakes in the Bronze Age, and they go back, you know, you can see them in the Chalcolithic also, but they're rare, you know, they appear here and there. And it's interesting, I think they are, you see them more in the Jordan Valley, at least in this period, maybe it's related to the environment, but the type of snake is, often on the vessels, there are many vessels where the snake is crawling on the rim. This is common in Middle Bronze Age vessels. There are a few examples, but on the vessels there are also a few, but it's rarer. And on the stands, it's already back in the 30s, 40s. It was said it's related to the myth of the snake and the Dumuzi and something. There is a myth related, and we have the myth in the Genesis also related to this whole story of the snake as being like an important animal. You know, the snake has, it's like healing and dangerous and healing animal. Maybe it's related to that. And so, but I don't know. I mean, or maybe just a snake because it's a question, yeah. What does it mean?
Since we're talking about vessels, slide. Yeah, no, you don't have to. The one on the floor, was it a deposit? You know, votive. The one. The stone jar.
Yeah.
in slide 17. It's right at the beginning. On the floor. Yes.
Okay. It was,
Or was it debris, or was it... What kind of... why was it there? Why was it found there?
It's like, sometimes it seems like you have these, yeah. There was also a grinding stone there. A grinding stone and this vessel. So it seems like at some stage, it's like they were canceling these entrances by having, if you have it in the path, it kind of cancels the whole concept of an entrance. So they put also a grindstone here, which is not part of the wall. It's just adjacent, abutting the wall, and this vessel, this upside down, like maybe there was a little phase, there was some kind of phase. Is it post-destruction or not, that they were using the area but canceling some of the? It's possible, yeah, because of these finds. And also the open area that I said, maybe it reflects some kind of a same period, but the post-destruction. It's possible also. Yeah. Because we have the erosion there, we don't know, maybe there was another later. Because of the erosion, maybe we don't have a lot of this phase because of the top. So maybe there was a really post-destruction. After destruction, there was like another layer, and they used the area in the same period.
Yes.
Archaeologically speaking, you said you were looking for the entrance to the wall.
Yeah.
What would you expect to find? An interruption in the stones? What?
The opening, yeah.
Yes, just the opening. And so far it's continuous. So far it's all continuous.
We hear it here, but maybe online.
Yeah, because...
Okay.
Fala aqui mesmo.
Pode vir aqui. Go by, yeah.
I'm not actually used to the geography of the region, so maybe it's a silly question. Forgive me, but you've talked about the Iron Age sites and different shapes of stone. But I was asking myself, is it the same type of stone? Did the city had easy access to stone, or we're talking about long distance network, Bronze Age and Iron Age?
This is funny, huh?
Yeah. There are plenty. It's nice that you're. There are plenty of stones and on the site. And geologically, I mean, why is the hill very steep from three sides and less steep on one side? Because three sides are flint and chert. It's very hard stone, and it's very sharp. And you walk on it, really, you feel it's sharp. And then on the it's really a mixture. It's a geological mixture. On the north side, it's limestone. It's softer and it's smoother. So they have both stones. They're using both stones because they have the limestone, which is softer, but they have also the chert, which can break in very straight lines. So they're using both. Local, yeah. So far, yeah, local. And the only thing you find basalt grindstone, so you know it's not local. But for building material, it's it's local so far.
More questions?
I have a question. Curiosity. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. Did you tell us that there are structures that are used by Bedouins today? What kind of reuse is done?
Yeah,
Sorry.
So the late rounded structure, you can see sometimes they had a fire, you know, a campfire, some modern things, you know, inside. So I mean, it's a hut. You can sleep there, I suppose. Some shepherds, you know, probably nothing very organized, yeah. But you find the remains, yeah. So. Go ahead.
Hi, Shalom. Toda. How long does it take for you to date something you find in the archaeological site? And then you take to the lab and you date. How long does it usually take for you to get the ages back when you're working on site? And do you do all of this in Israel to date?
So far, the dating is from pottery. We didn't. We have some samples from carbon, but we didn't send any yet. So that was a question of carbon dating. We don't have any yet, but it's very clear. I mean, the pottery is really clear, so it is. We will do some, but it's not really very urgent in a way, because okay, you can see the pottery in the. Sometimes you could say, okay, we know these types very well. So in a way, it's not. And in this period, you don't get very. You can get the error of the radiocarbon bigger than the pottery dating. So, but we will send. Yeah, we have some carbon, not so much, but some. Not so many bones. Also, it's interesting. We don't have any animal bones. I mean, one box said not so much. Interesting. How come? I don't know. Yeah.
Hi, More Professor. Thank you for the presentation. I'm.
Just a second. Everything starts with
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Is about I have surprise about the relationship in the North Kingdom from Shomron to Jordan, but I have to know about the expectative relation about Bronze Age. The predominance of site is the Iron Age too, but why the prognostic, the previsions about researches from the Bronze Age in region, but we have questions in Khirbet Aujah, the predominance is Bronze Age, but was researches from Iron Age too, about também about Bronze Age. What your prognostics perspectives about this region from the Bronze Age? Thank you.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but you're actually asking why researchers they look for the Iron Age in these sites. Yeah. This site and other sites. Yeah. Yeah. How come? Yeah. Generally, this region it doesn't have so much of during all periods, because this is a very arid region. It's a marginal region, so often you have these gaps or almost gaps. Like when they did the surveys, it's not well excavated, but according to surveys, you have early bronze, and then you don't have much. Little bit of some middle bronze and no late bronze or hardly, and then suddenly in the Iron Age there are many more sites. So how do we explain this? So what? Is this a difference? Was there a climatic difference?
And it might explain why at some point it was not updated.
Yeah, it's possible, and we know like in the Neolithic and Chalcolithic period, we have many, and we have several sites, and it seems like there were agricultural sites in this period. So maybe the climate was wetter then. But I'm not sure it fits well this period exactly. The question still, it's not very clear. But there are historical issues. I mean, some researchers would say, okay, we have the Iron Age, we have the new incoming people. They are coming, the people of Israel, the tribes, they're coming from the Jordan, from the east, crossing the Jordan and settling this period. That's why we suddenly have so many small sites. And according to the survey, there are really some Iron Age sites. But the question, are they really Iron Age? Are they early Iron Age? Are they late Iron Age? That's really the question which we want to tackle in this study, because the survey gives you some information, but the question, what really happened there? So it can be something happened there during the Iron Age. Is it related to new population, or is it related to the local population settling, or is it related to some central administration that kind of wants to control this area because usually it's not settled, but because there's a bigger central, polity, suddenly it's, they want to use it as a road, it's a strategic area. So this may have happened in the Iron Age, according to history, maybe the Bible also later on, according we know that there were some polities there and so on. So maybe it's related to that. And in the Bronze Age, we don't know. I mean, it's a big question what happened. Why is the difference between the middle bronze and the late bronze? Yeah, so it's a question. Yeah, but people are interested in the Iron Age because of the Bible, primarily, and the more historical data then. Yeah. Okay.
The destruction, is it really connected to war? Is it established? Are there earthquakes in the region? In that particular region?
Plenty of earthquakes there. Yeah, but it's very difficult to pinpoint an earthquake, and also you have to see that it's related to an earthquake. I mean, because of the ashes, it's burning, and the arrowheads and these balls, and seemingly there was some kind of a battle there, I think. But okay, I mean, you never know. No bodies and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's that's a more likely assumption during this period. But the question always how to characterize also the destructions. There are all kinds of destructions. There's a complete destruction, there's a partial destruction. And no, nobody. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Obrigado a todos pela presença. Depois a gente providencia os certificados. Peço ajuda para eles. Olha o olho do projeto.
Most of you are interested in later periods, I suppose, or not so much, or these periods. If you are interested in later, much later. Okay. So this is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting period. Yeah. So for you, it's like a pretty interesting period.
Yeah.
But I don't think there are interesting and non-interesting periods. There are interesting questions and not.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And